Hey everybody, Brett from Love Bets and the Belfry back for another video with kind of getting into spooky season. And I did do a video of this in the past of doing a worst to first with the Halloween franchise, but I kind of wanted to redo it. I wasn't honestly a huge fan of that video. I'd done just like an audio thing with just mostly just still shots like over top of it. I wasn't a fan of that video, so I just kind of wanted to redo it of just me talking to the camera, which is kind of what I feel most comfortable doing. But regardless, this is a worst to first. You know how these kind of things work. Halloween franchise, at this point I'm recording the video, there's been 13 movies in this franchise, starting with worst. Now this is kind of recency biased a little bit, but I felt this way since it came out. I'm never going back to rewatch it. One time was enough for me, and to me, I know this has its fans, and I think with time some people might come around on this movie. At least for me in this current time, not a fan, did not like it whatsoever, and that's Halloween Ends. This is the weirdest type of movie to do to close out a trilogy of movies. Huge like cluster of just like half-baked ideas that they couldn't really have everything fully come together, or they couldn't really pick a lane and stick to it, because most of Halloween Ends was the Corey Cunningham character, and it just ends up him and end up being killed by Michael Myers by the end of it. So it was like you spent this whole movie building up this new like face of evil almost, and then you just go ahead and kill him off. With writers and studios being involved of what was going on with that, it seemed like there was just too many hands in the dough basically. But that's kind of how this movie went. Michael Myers legit gets killed. There's no sort of like, oh, he could still be alive. Like, they don't really hint at that whatsoever. The only thing they hint at is like, yes, evil never dies, it just changes shape. I do like that as a theme of where it's like, Michael Myers can get killed. It's like, that's not going to stop evil people from existing and evil things happening. I get that, and I like that. But most of this movie was like a teen drama, and you had Michael Myers sidelined in his own movie for Corey Cunningham. Kind of like the concept of Corey Cunningham as a character actually is pretty interesting, but a lot of it, is just half-baked ideas to me. I just don't think this really stuck any sort of landing whatsoever. And I remember just watching Halloween Ends, and my wife and I actually considered going to the movie theater to watch this, and I'm really glad that we did not go to see it in the theater, because we were watching on Peacock the day it came out, and we were like, what are we watching? Like, I thought we were watching a movie about Michael Myers, but I guess not. There is one movie in this franchise that doesn't have Michael Myers at all in it. I like that, so you could say that's kind of hypocritical of me with being so harsh on this movie. But the thing is, it's like with Halloween 3, I guess maybe at the time it came out, Halloween 3, like maybe I would have been angry along with a lot of other people. So a lot of people are comparing Halloween Ends to Halloween 3, and I get those comparisons a little bit, but Halloween 3 to me is a way better movie, and it's way more cohesive, much better story, even for a lack of Michael Myers. So it's like, if you're going to sideline Michael Myers this much, you might as well just not have him in your movie. So I don't know. That's just my opinion on Halloween Ends. I think this is the worst in the franchise. There's no movie in this franchise I've straight up like refused to rewatch. Like, I have watched almost all of them in this franchise more than once. And Halloween Ends, I would, it's kind of an argument with a few that are just a hair above Halloween Ends, but like, this is one I legitimately finished the movie and I was like, I will probably never watch that again. And kind of to this day, I love the Halloween franchise, but I honestly don't really care what happens from here. Whatever they do, they reset the timeline yet again. There's only so many things you can do with just a dude in a mask with a blank slate of a mask, carrying a knife around and killing people on Halloween night. It's so simplistic. What else do you do with it? Besides go way off the rails with it. Halloween Ends, not very good. Just a slight hair above that, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 from 2009. Yeah, the first 20 minutes of this movie is the most unnecessary thing. It's an entire dream sequence just for it to go nowhere. I can't really think of another example where you're like, man, what a colossal waste of time. I have a lot of respect for Rob Zombie. I really enjoy his music. I actually really like how he approaches a lot of his films. He has a real voice of his own, and there is some stuff I really enjoy in his movies, despite some of his movies don't really actually hit for me. Really, the only one that does that I really enjoy is House of a Thousand Corpses. I heard that was production hell, and I heard that Halloween 2 was production hell for him. He basically didn't even want to do the movie. And after watching Halloween 2, that kind of makes a lot of sense because there's just so many things in this movie that are all over the place. Dr. Loomis, Malcolm McDowell playing Dr. Loomis, like, he's actually a pretty decent character in Rob Zombie's first Halloween movie. And then he just turns him into this like total a-hole character, like a best-selling author. He treats people like crap, and it's like you went from being like actual likable character to like insufferable in Halloween 2. So, and it's like Malcolm McDowell is a super charismatic dude, but like if you're trying to make us really hate on Dr. Loomis, you succeeded because I mean, it's not one of those, characters that's like, oh, he's just a total scumbag, but has a charm to it. Yeah, it's not a good movie. It's a huge waste of time. It doesn't really go anywhere. It's almost like, I think I said this in my previous, review of, worst of first Halloween movies, was like, it was almost like Rob Zombie trying to make a David Lynch film, because he just had no direction, or really didn't know what to do with it. Definitely close to the bottom of the barrel. It's not good. Moving on from there is Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007. I am also not a huge fan of this. There's definitely a lot of Rob Zombie type dialogue in this, and it doesn't, not that Halloween as a franchise, it's like you have classy characters. It's not necessarily a thing of this franchise, but man, it gets into pure trash territory with dialogue, all the characters. Yeah, besides Dr. Loomis and I think Danny Trejo's character, there's not one single likable character in Rob Zombie's Halloween. Everyone is awful. So it's hard to want to sit through a movie like this, especially the family that Michael comes from. And I know what obviously he was trying to do. I do think in concept, Michael Myers coming from a really awful, dysfunctional, abusive family makes a lot of sense. But the thing is, what makes Michael Myers such a compelling character is he's just a giant question mark that goes around killing people. I do credit Rob Zombie as trying something different here. The movie as itself is just, it's not good. I don't enjoy this one at all. I hate all the dialogue. All the characters are borderline insufferable. For that, exactly, it's just, I haven't seen really the unrated cut, but there's apparently an essay scene in that version, and it's not interested in watching that. So this is just not a very good one. It's been a little bit of time since I've seen it, but everything I remember, I was just I'm not having fun watching this. Both Rob Zombie's Halloween movies, I just did not have fun with. And I would say you see more of a vision in his 2007 movie for sure. But half that movie is Michael Myers being in the hospital and Dr. Loomis just trying to get through to him. So that is interesting in concept, but it doesn't make for a super compelling movie, especially when most of the second half is Michael breaking out and then, going back home to find, Laurie and that whole thing. So it's got some decent ideas, but it's just not executed that well. I think Rob Zombie excels more in his own original material. He obviously tried to tackle the monsters, which, I want to give another chance to, but I remember just watching half of it and was man, this just isn't good. Rob Zombie can't really pull off the monsters, and I know he's a huge Monsters fan. I really wanted him to succeed with that, but I do think Rob Zombie more excels in making something that's completely his own than Halloween or the Monsters, type thing. So yeah, that's where it lands. Above that is one that's not really much better either. That's Halloween Resurrection. This is pretty self-explanatory. This was a very much a product of the early 2000s or mid-2000s where, found footage was, pretty popular, and it was let's make a Halloween movie that has a found footage aspect of it, and, people, filming something in the Myers house, has Tyra Banks, has Busta Rhymes in it. Busta Rhymes trick-or-treat Myers out of a window, and he gets electrocuted, and Laurie Strode at the end of Halloween H2O, where she cuts off Michael Myers' head. They needed to make a sequel, so they're well, she literally cut his head off, what do you want us to do? And so they made the retcon the whole thing, and they're oh yeah, Laurie cut off the head of a paramedic or whatever that Michael switched outfits out with, and the paramedic had the Michael Myers mask on. You know, that's a thing. They have Laurie Strode back once again, but only for like the first 15 minutes of the movie. So Michael comes back and Laurie's in an institution. So Michael breaks in and kills Laurie. That's definitely among probably the worst part of the whole series, at least up to that point. You can't really kill Laurie, you know, without like having her at least killing Michael in the process, at least in my opinion. So yeah, this movie's not good. It could be like, you know, it's bad, but you know, still enjoyable, like an enjoyable bad. I mean, Busta Rhymes like showdown with Michael at the end is pretty funny to me. It's not a very good one. So we'll get to good ones soon enough, I promise. Above that is Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. This one, I would say, is honestly, probably the most forgettable one of the whole series. And I know there's an argument to be had with people. I would rather watch something that I would forget about and not have an absolute awful time watching than sitting through something that's just really, really bad. That's just my opinion. I don't know. Maybe other people beg to differ. They'd rather watch something that's truly awful and it would make them remember it. But to me, it's like, I'd rather watch a forgettable but watchable movie, you know, than just a really bad movie that's going to make me angry. And so, yeah, to me, Halloween 5 is probably the most forgettable thing about it. They kind of retcon the whole Jamie ending where Halloween 4 was like a really shocking ending, and they basically do nothing with it. Dr. Loomis is still hunting down Michael. There's the whole Jamie tries to get through to Michael in one scene. This is probably the most memorable scene from the movie. Yeah, so Michael like has his mask off, but you still can't really see his face, but he like starts crying in like a moment of like weakness. But then that immediately gets ruined by Dr. Loomis. And I just remember the one scene where like Michael Myers is wearing just like a different mask. It just looks like this weird like troll mask that he's wearing like while he's in the car with somebody. That's about it. It's just more of the same, but just not as good. So to me, it's like, it's not as low as the other ones in the list because I do think those are much, much worse. I don't have the desire to really go back and watch The Revenge of Michael Myers, but, you know, if someone went to put this on, I wouldn't be like, I do not feel like watching this. I'd be like, okay, fine, no problem. You know, it's one of the forgettable ones. That's not as bad to me. Next up after that is Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. This is Halloween 6, the one after Revenge of Michael Myers. This one is also not a very good one. I would say this one is a little more compelling than number 5. And it does have some like decent kills. I mean, you have the famous exploding head kill that is actually only in the theatrical cut. There's a theatrical cut and a producer's cut, and I know a lot of people make an argument about the producer's cut being, you know, a lot more enjoyable, a lot more watchable, and a lot more cohesive. I've seen both. I think neither of them are that good, honestly, and I would actually probably prefer the theatrical cut. The producer's cut is like really about the cult of Thorn with Michael Myers, and you know, the theatrical cut also is, but they really delve in the Cult of Thorn stuff with Michael, and like producer's cut had like, in order to stop Michael, you had to put these marbles all around him, and you know, that's how you could control him, and Michael was being controlled by this cult, and you know, there was this whole, you know, like incest thing with Jamie Lloyd. It's like, it's freaking weird, man. That out of the equation, I mean, it's still like one of those like dumb Halloween sequels. It's still enjoyable. I do think there's some really stupid moments of the movie, but how my taste is, like there's some like, it's so dumb, but yet I like it because of how absurd it is. Paul Rudd being like one of his first movies, he is kind of a creep in this as Tommy. Like towards the end of the movie, in the theatrical cut, he like straight up beats Michael with a steel pipe, and then Michael is bleeding green slime. I don't know why that is. And then the very end of the movie, you have Donald Pleasence, or Dr. Loomis, just kind of standing right outside of where Michael was like beaten half to death. You see just Michael's mask on the ground, and then you hear Dr. Loomis from a distance just screaming, and it just cuts to a jack-o'-lantern that's, you know, that's like blinking the candlelight, and then it kind of just goes out, and then the credits roll, and you're like, okay, don't really know what that means, and I don't think the people making the movie knew what that meant either. If you watch the producer's cut, wow, this is a big difference, like, you watch a movie, you're like, you watch the theatrical cut, and then you watch like the director's cut or the unrated cut of something, not that much different, but like this is an example of like, wow, this is like a huge difference. Not good, but it is very entertaining. I like it for that reason. It is one of the more easier to watch ones, despite some things just make no sense in this movie, but to me it's easy to get through, so that's kind of where I put it on this list. I would say at this point in the list we're kind of getting to some of the better ones, not, I wouldn't say great ones, but ones that are a lot better at this point in the series. So next up is Halloween H2O. This was the 20 years later one, having Jamie Lee Curtis back as Laurie Strode, and she basically moves and starts a whole new life. It's easy to get through, kind of like I said with like Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. This one is, I think, the shortest Halloween movie that's ever been made. I want to say it's like literally like an hour and 10 minutes, maybe like an hour and 12 minutes. It's like super short. I mean, this one has some very interesting masks for Michael. They use several different masks for Michael in this one, including one that's CGI, and if you watch it now, pretty bad looking. It says Josh Hartnett too, as I think like this might be his first movie. So that's pretty interesting, seeing where he is like right now. He seems to kind of made a career comeback as of recent memory. Halloween H20, it's still fun. I think it does have Laurie's best like moment, I want to say, of the entire franchise, which I had mentioned earlier in this review, where she literally decapitates Michael Myers, and I know that's retconned in the sequel. I mean, if you take that out of the equation, like the fact that it's like Michael is just like trapped from like Laurie like hits him with her van or something like that. He's literally trapped and he's just like reaching his hand out, and then Laurie just has an axe and just whips it, knocks his head clean off, and I'm like, that's awesome. It's like one of the best Laurie Strode moments of the whole series. Yeah, it's definitely one of the better ones. It's not great. It's definitely like kind of has like that time period of like Scream came out 2 years prior, so the slasher genre was like starting to make a comeback. So it definitely felt like if it wasn't for Scream, I don't know if Halloween H20 would have happened, honestly. I say H20 sometimes. I know everyone says like H2O, but like I say H20 sometimes. H2O, I just think of like Halloween water. All right, next up is Halloween Kills. Halloween Kills is one of those movies that you're like, you watch it for exactly what's in the title. The kills are awesome. This movie is a huge mixed bag though, like for sure. The whole angry mob mentality, I understood what they were going for. The execution is not very good. Laurie is basically Laurie monologue Strode in Halloween Kills because she is sidelined completely. And that's not necessarily a bad thing in this movie, because I think the movie has enough of going on its own that you didn't really need Laurie really in it all that much, because Allison and Karen like kind of pick up the pieces on like Laurie Strode being sidelined because she basically got stabbed like in the stomach and was like had horrible injuries. And I do appreciate that like even one point of the movie she like actually tries to leave the hospital and everyone's like, you will die, like the fire rescue team like going after Michael, and Michael just, he was pissed off, man, like the most pissed Michael had ever been in the series. Actually most of this movie he just comes off extremely pissed off, and rather than like a blank slate, he still has this very much blank slate Michael Myers persona. You just saw like the knob of anger and just get it dialed way up, because dude was really mad. I love the kills of this movie, and it's just super visceral. It's probably the most visceral Halloween movie yet to date. If you are a big slasher fan and you haven't seen Halloween Kills, which I'd be surprised if you haven't, but yeah, that's the reason to watch this movie, because it's a good one. I mean, I like the ending, but a part of me also doesn't, because I like the character of Karen. I actually thought she was a really solid character, and I do think she was just kind of wasted just for shock value. While I do think that works really well, I mean, I don't know who else you would have killed in that aspect of kind of shocking your audience. I do think Karen was a character that should have lasted through the trilogy, regardless of that, like even the angry mob showdown with Michael at the end, including the lady who was carrying, an iron. I did think I do think that part is really cool. I thought it was awesome that, like, you know, people are just so mad at Michael and they just beat him down. But this is Michael Myers, so it's like he's got to be able to kill everybody. Good in some aspects, but yeah, it's definitely a mixed bag, because there's like times I'm watching Halloween Kills, I'm just like that's cool, I don't really like that. That's cool. No, not that. Oh, that's cool. You know, it's like that's my mind, like watching Halloween Kills, basically. Some hits and some misses. Above that is the one that came out previous to Kills, which is Halloween 2018. I really enjoy this one. Yeah, I like what they did. I like that they pretty much retconned everything after the original Halloween. They were like, you know, this is, you know, a reboot, but it's going to just be a sequel only to the original Halloween. And so they erased the whole, you know, Michael Myers is Laurie Strode's brother. I like that they erased that, but they did kind of paint themselves into a corner with the whole, like, well, how do you get Michael Myers to follow Laurie Strode? Because it's like, if he just doesn't, he's just killing aimlessly. Like, how do you get this guy to follow Laurie Strode? Which is this big plot twist they had to do with the new doctor that took over for Dr. Loomis. I don't think worked too well. I thought it was kind of stupid. Like, honestly, it felt like kind of like the mustache twirling villain move that you would do, like in, you know, like an old cartoon or something like that. You're like, really? Like, you're a legit, like, you know, psychiatrist. Like, why would you think that this was a good idea to do this? It doesn't really work here. I do think the majority of people didn't like that plot twist, and I would say my biggest complaint of this movie is just being written like partially by Danny McBride. You know, you're gonna have some comedic stuff being thrown in there. The comedy does not land at all to me, this franchise. Like, they should have just left all of that alone and just played it straight. Like, the dad going, I got peanut butter on my penis, like, you know, line is like, right when, remember seeing it in theaters, and like right when that, like, he said that line, I was like, oh great, we're gonna have some lines like this throughout the movie, aren't we? I would say the only thing that was funny that worked was the one kid being babysat, that Michael ended up killing the babysitter. Like, he was really funny. Other than that, the humor didn't really work that well. I mean, it's still really good. I love the way it ends. I mean, if they had ended the Halloween 2018 and nothing came after that, I would have been completely satisfied with that, honestly. Like, I thought that was a perfect end to it, and you didn't need to make any more sequels after it, because it ended exactly like almost how the original ended, where it was like open-ended, but you were like, it was definitive enough where you're like, you don't have to do anything after that, you know, type thing. Definitely a good one. I mean, I watch it here and there, still really enjoyable. Next up after that is Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Halloween 3 not having Michael Myers in it, so they decided to bring Michael back for Halloween 4, Return of Michael Myers. This is a good one. I actually really like this. My main complaint is the mask of Michael. Some people don't mind it too much, but I do think Michael's mask it might be among one of the worst Michael masks of the whole series. The movie itself is one of my favorites. Opening sequence of just showing like the whole town and just this eerie atmospheric vibe, and was just showing all these Halloween decorations hung up and all this like wind blowing leaves and stuff like that. There's like almost literally no music. It's just sounds of winds and just like the open air, basically. It might be like one of my favorite like opening segments to like any scary movie, because it's just it's weird. It's so short too, but I just love that it's just like, it just eases you in. Like, I do love slow burn movies, and so like when something slowly eases you into something, like especially for like, you know, a mainstream horror franchise like this, that one of their movies just like starts off very atmospheric. I love that. So that's my thing. This is one that Halloween Kills took a lot from, with like the whole angry mob mentality. Like Halloween 4 had the whole like small town like took matters into their own hands. I do think it's pulled off a little better in Halloween 4, if I'm being honest. Halloween Kills, it definitely was going for the whole, they're turning all of us into monsters, and like Halloween 4, I thought it was executed a little better, because it was just like, it was a small group of people. It wasn't like an entire hospital full of people like knocking people over and stuff like that. It was just like a few pissed off rednecks basically, and they're just like, all right, let's go take this guy down. So don't know, maybe that's just my taste, but I thought that was pulled off way better. The new character who was basically the new Laurie Strode, bad with remembering her name, but I really liked her. I thought she worked really well, and the introduction of Jamie Lloyd and then what ends up happening to her and how Halloween 4 wraps up, I think is one of the best endings of the whole series, which of course they went on to do absolutely nothing with in Halloween 5, which sucks because this ending is fantastic. It's kind of a bummer, but truly a horror ending, I would say, of, it's not just the whole, oh, Michael is still alive type thing. It's like it really focuses on Jamie Lloyd and what just, transcribed, and I love that. I just love that ending. It's great. So yeah, Halloween 4 is a blast. I always want to watch it every Halloween season. Recently showed my wife and she really liked it as well. So really enjoyable one in the series. After that is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. This is the number 3 spot. The one I have above this, it was kind of neck and neck, and in my last worst or best, I did a best to worst video and I had them actually switch. So this time the bronze medal goes to Halloween 3, and I would say the reason for that is because I think I do watch Halloween 2. I've seen Halloween 2 a lot more than Halloween 3, and that's not to detract from Halloween 3 because I really love Halloween 3. I love the concept of silver shamrock masks and them basically just this person just trying to take control of society through novelty Halloween masks. It's pretty cool. I mean, the concept of this is pretty dark because it's like a bunch of kids are going to buy these masks and then they literally show what will happen when a kid puts a mask on, and it is horrifying. I mean, how it's executed, it is very 80s cheese, and I love it. And I like that our protagonist, he's kind of a sleazy guy. He's not at all a good person. He's a doctor, he's divorced from his wife, he barely sees his kids, and then he meets up with one girl whose dad gets killed and is involved in this whole thing. They literally hook up within an hour of meeting each other. So yeah, it's the protagonist is not a super great guy. He's a heavily flawed guy, but I like that it's he's trying to get to the bottom of what's going on here. And how it ends is pretty horrifying as well, kind of like Halloween 4, but this is also has a great ending, and I love the endings of this. Look at the cover of Halloween 3, it's right back there. On the surface, you wouldn't really think oh, this is kind of a science fiction movie, because it's not. There is a lot of sci-fi elements into it. It's some of the people who get killed are borderline androids, and they're they bleed orange goo and stuff like that. So it's very sci-fi-ish. How the owner of Silver Shamrock kind of basically wants to take over the world. It sounds very sci-fi, but it's just probably a lot more grounded than in this sci-fi plot of being any other movie. It probably would have been a lot more science fiction. It's basically a science fiction movie disguised as a horror movie. So Halloween 3 is great though. I always want to rewatch it every Halloween season. If you have just been oh, it doesn't have Michael Myers, I don't want to watch it, just give it a chance. I mean, this was the original plan of Halloween 1 and 2 was about Michael Myers, and then they were going to make Halloween an anthology series. Everyone knows the story basically at this point. It didn't work out the way they wanted to, so they had to bring Michael Myers. But Halloween 3 in itself, if you had just called it Season of the Witch, it would have been not nearly as criticized as it was back in 1982. All right, final 2. Let's break this down. Halloween 2. It really is the DVD here. It just says more the night he came home. That really is the movie. It's just within the same night as Halloween 1. I would say it is a bit of a flawed sequel. I mean, when I think of hospitals, I don't necessarily think of the hospital in Halloween 2 here, where 90% of the hospital has lights out in the building. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, because hospitals, I've been in hospitals, they don't look like that, but I do like the vibe of it in this movie, and I can kind of get past that. This is definitely a 1981 movie, and some people would say it is a little bit slow, but I do like that the kills are turned up a little bit more for that reason. And it's you could either do more of just Michael Myers just having these very tame kills, you could turn it up a little bit more. And that's what they do with Halloween 2. They really were planning on killing off Michael Myers in Halloween 2, because it's like when a dude is fully engulfed in flames walking towards you and then he collapses out of exhaustion and like fourth, fifth degree burns. Yeah, that would probably take anybody down. Yeah, that's a pretty gnarly death. So comparing the other kills in the Halloween series seems very tame compared to what happens to Michael in Halloween 2. Especially being like, he basically is shot, not, I wouldn't say in the eyeballs, but like basically like right above. So he's bleeding so much and he can't see Laurie Strode. So he's just blindly swinging his knife around at the end. And then Dr. Loomis basically makes a sacrifice of just blowing the room up with him in it. Obviously, he went on to be okay. I mean, Halloween 4, he had a pretty surprisingly minor burns compared to what happened to Michael in Halloween 2. This is still a fun sequel. I mean, if you hold it in regard as high as the original Halloween, you're probably going to be disappointed, obviously. Halloween 2 is one I always enjoy watching. If I watch the original Halloween, I usually do want to watch Halloween 2 and 3 and maybe 4. Yeah, Halloween 2 is a fun time, and despite all its flaws, it just has a charm to it that I just still always want to go back to. And number one spot, to literally no one's surprise, the original John Carpenter's Halloween, 1978. I do have the extended cut right here. If you've never seen the extended cut, that was where they wanted to cut it to have it play on cable television, so they had to film additional scenes for the movie. I would say just kind of stick to the original. I think it is neat that I own the extended cut, but the extended cut is nothing worth really sitting through, honestly. It is just more extended scenes of basically Dr. Loomis going around to more people, just trying to learn more about, did you see Michael, like, type thing. It's like, it's literally covered in the original Halloween. It was like he goes and talks to everyone he needs to talk to, the sheriff of Haddonfield and everything. It's like, and, in the extended cut, it's like Dr. Loomis is like at a university and he's like talking to, I think the original Halloween shows like a very shortened version of that, of him talking to like the professor of the university or something like that. All these additional scenes are kind of just like, they're just there, they really needed to fill the time. So that's exactly what you get with the extended cut. So, but the original, I think, is borderline perfect. I mean, there's not really much else, to say about it. It's a classic for a reason. I always consider Halloween, the original Halloween, to be like, how a lot of people love to watch A Christmas Story, or just keep A Christmas Story on like all day on Christmas Day. I would consider that with the original Halloween. Like, I could probably just play Halloween on a loop all day on the day of Halloween, and like it creates that atmosphere, kind of like how Christmas Story does on Christmas. It kind of makes you want to just play that on a loop for like 24 hours. Honestly, if people still watch cable television, I would suggest that to, a station. I'd be like, just play Halloween all day. Everyone watches streaming services now. So everyone go buy DVDs, go buy VHSs, give physical media a try. Yeah, that's gonna wrap up Halloween movies ranked worst to first. Hopefully you all have enjoyed this one. I want to thank you all very much for watching. Everyone has their own lists of how they would rank the Halloween movies, and I would love to know how you feel. This is just one person's opinion. We're allowed to have different opinions, and that's the joy of discussing movies. I'm sure people love Halloween Ends and put it towards their top. It's at my bottom. Don't let me yuck on your yum, man. So it's just my opinion. Anyways, that's gonna wrap it up here. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you on a future video. Bye.